What we see here is an illustration of our index model. All an index model means is it's a way to derive satisfaction, the importance weights, versus us just asking them, hey, which one of these things do you feel is most important? We're able to derive that the concept of problem resolution, account activities, fees, et cetera, has an importance weight. And that importance weight, you can see in red, was the previous year's importance, and in white is the current year's importance. And what you can see is that things like account activities, which is all of these, have dropped year over year as fees essentially have gone up very significantly year over year. But when you dig a little bit deeper into these account activities, you can see that in person as a whole, in terms of its overall importance, is going down in the world of service. Online is very stable. In banking, ATM, you can see this is a drop, but this is the most amazing one. That live phone rather had a 700% increase year over year in importance weights. What that really means is that the calls that people are getting today are usually very complex, right? In other words, back in the day, about 5-10 years ago, we'd be able to check our balance we would check our balances on the phone, or we'd walk in. Today, it's all available on the web. It's all available on your phone. If you don't want to talk to a human being, you don't have to. It's just go on the IVR and enter in your account number, et cetera, et cetera. So why is it, even though calls are plummeting, that it's more important now year over year by 700%? And it has to do with the fact that when push comes to shove, people want to, and it's an emotional issue about money, health, family members, they want to talk to somebody. And so today we see the best organizations in the direct marketing world and the service and support world investing heavily in their agents. We've seen average handle times explode. Average handle time is going up 40-50% in some industries, even though they're getting fewer calls. That means you have to hire and train. All these operational ramifications for this particular phenomenon that's going on. The other thing that's important is this notion of brand assassins and brand champions. Brand assassin in our world are those folks who, on a satisfaction scale, essentially say that their level on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 3.5 or below. A brand champion is someone who scores about a 9 or above. Those two levels are highly correlated with either deriding a brand on the low end. Each time you have somebody who reports a satisfaction level at that level, those folks will actually go out and talk to 7 people and trash your brand. And that excludes social media. So those are 7 discrete opportunities that they take to tell somebody what a horrible experience they had with your brand. On the top end, the brand champions, they'll only give you 4 positive recommendations. So for those of you in the business world trying to figure out how do I make more money out of my service, it is get rid of those 1, 2s, and 3s and migrate them up to a 4 or above, and get those folks from a 7 and an 8 into a delighting experience to a 9, and that will drive your profits. It will make your sales cycle a lot shorter, it'll make your brand a lot stronger, and it'll give you a lot of pricing protection. And not to mention just the fact that you'll retain more customers. So these are some phenomena that's going on that has an impact on what we as operators inside the contact center world are having essentially to deal with. Okay, let's talk about IVR automation strategies and their implications. What we know about the IVR is that it's very, very important to the overall interaction. So when you call up an organization and you go through the automated phone system in order to get to somebody, and you get to somebody, and at the end you have the opportunity to reflect on your experience, what our data says is that for the last 2 years running, a third of the entire experience that you had with the interaction was determined before you even got to an agent. So if you know that to be true, what's interesting is, wow, why is it that IVRs are so bad? I mean, they're universally horrible. When we looked at our data, we looked at, does IVR help or hurt satisfaction? And what we found is that only 7% of all organizations have an IVR that is accretive to the overall experience. So that means 93% of us, likely those of us who are in this room who have contact centers, have created experiencing a degradation of their overall experience by just not paying attention to the IVR. It's very easy to overlook. And today, though, it's very, very important that we nail it, especially in light of what's going on in the marketplace, which I'll get into here in a moment. All right, let's talk a little bit of detail in terms of strategies that you can live by, and strategies that have shown to create problems. All right, so, and you know, this is really true for retail as well. This is, you know, good advice for any of us who are attempting to create engagement with our customers, is that at the end of the day, our lives as consumers, especially here in the States, phenomenally stressful, extremely difficult, very emotionally draining. We don't have a lot of extra bandwidth. As a result, those organizations who have been able to reduce the stress, particularly around folks who call in, are those that are the most successful. And the shortest path to doing that is reducing their representative stress, right? So one strategy to live by is at each channel or customer touch point, taking great strides to reduce the stress. And really, what does that mean? It means a couple of things. One, here in the United States especially, everyone loves options, but here in the US, we are control freaks by and large. And the quicker that we can meet people where they want to be met, the better off that you will be from a satisfaction and brand loyalty perspective. So that means providing different modes of interaction and different channels. So if you are today not providing, as an example, an ability to chat, then though you will still get folks calling in, though you will still potentially have some business, you are potentially inadvertently alienating a large percentage of your customers, simply because that is the mode that they prefer to interact with. So one of the principles is offer a lot of those things, and the goal is to get them in control as quickly as possible. Now, to illustrate this, we're going to talk about an efficiency-centric approach. And you'll notice this graphic. I did a webinar last week called Dead Call Center Talking instead of Dead Man Walking from the Green Mile. And it was our staid J.D. Power approach at humor. But it was effective. We had hundreds of people on the call, and it was, by most accounts, successful. But one of the major themes that emerged was this notion of containment. Now, those of you in this room may not be familiar necessarily with that term, but containment is essentially the goal of many operations today to contain the consumer in self-service channels in lieu of them getting to a real person. And it's all about costs. People are doing it because it's less expensive to make your consumer check balances via the IVR than have somebody pick up the phone, interact with them, and tell them what their balance is. Now, what's so sad about this is that we went through this phase here in this country about 15 years ago, when outsourcing started to really gain steam in terms of the offshore world. it was so much less expensive. So from an efficiency standpoint, the bean counters were happy because you could literally overnight, in some cases, there was one organization I am familiar with where they saved $1 billion in support costs by going overseas. What's interesting about that same organization is today they have essentially repatriated all but maybe 20% of their calls to the US. So for them, they said, essentially the executive said, I'm saving $1 billion and it is not worth it. It absolutely is not worth it. So the moral of the story is that we today, through technology, are essentially repeating the same mistakes that we have made in years past, which is pushing for efficiency and saving money in the short term versus thinking like long-term extended value advocates of our clients in an attempt to help them appreciate our products and services and engage in such a way that we create lifetime relationships. We have half the people in a room thinking long-term, and then you have half the people in the room, sometimes those with more authority in the sense that they're in areas of finance, or they're in the executive wing that in public companies that are absolutely driving this notion of efficiency. And what we're afraid of for an organization that advocates for the consumer is that this is going to result in something similar, that people are going to attempt to force containment, and that containment, in fact, is ultimately going to backfire. What's good news is that in almost all of our studies, the most profitable companies abhor concepts like containment. Isn't that interesting? That you have very smart people with more degrees than a thermometer sitting around forcing this notion of efficiency, and they're absolutely getting whacked from a profitability standpoint by folks who are managing from a people-first perspective and accept the fact that their costs are going to be higher, but the resulting net profits and gains in ultimate share of wallet is going to be higher. So anyways, I'm off my, that was me being on a soapbox right then.